Okay, method number 2. We said we could have done this, we did that, and we got that. We also said this could work, factoring out a common term and the difference of squares. This should say and or the difference of squares, looking for the difference of squares, okay? So here, option number 2, factoring. Look at the terms that are separated by the minus sign and see if they have anything in common. And they do. They have a sign x. So take the sign x and factor it away from both of those terms. If I factor sign x away from here, it goes away. If I factor sign x away from here, it goes away, but I have to have something in its place. I have to have a placeholder there if I factor out that entire term. That's the minus 1. Now when we look at this, and here's where things can kind of start to go sideways for people, they'll look at this and say like, okay, now what? He told me I should do some math, so I'm going to distribute. Okay? Which is silly, because we literally just factored that out of the problem. Okay? So, instead, if there's nothing that you can do to simplify, now we go back to the toolbox. Okay? Now, after we've used that first tool, we have to reset and go through this whole list all over again, right? Only not really, because we're not going to factor by grouping. We still don't have any fractions. We still don't have any fractions. We still don't have any fractions. Okay, we have everything in terms of sine and cosine. We literally just did this. See how we get to the end? Okay? We've got to manipulate and substitute a Pythagorean identity again. So, when we were in the margin before, we wanted to get just cosine squared x. Now we're back in the margin, and instead of trying to get cosine x, now we want a statement that says cosine squared x minus 1 equals something, because that's the expression that's in the problem we're doing. Now, I take it back. Oops, do I have to undo all of this? Oh, you're killing me. Okay. Could we put this in place of the cosine squared x? Yes, we could. Okay. So just to, I guess there's 3 ways we could do this problem. We could put 1 minus sine squared x here, and then leave the minus 1 in that quantity as well. We could do that. I'm going to try it a different way. Instead, now I'm going to erase this again. Instead, I'm going to shoot for getting cosine squared x minus 1 as my statement. So how do I manipulate this to get cosine squared x minus 1? Well, if I needed to say cosine squared x minus 1, I need a minus 1 here. So I'm going to subtract it, so it's over here now. So now this statement says sine squared x plus cosine squared x minus 1 equals 0. But I want it to just be that. So I move this over. And 0 minus sine squared x is negative sine squared x. So the squared expression that was in that problem can be replaced with just this. And then I multiply those together. Same answer. It's the beauty and forgiveness, but also the turmoil of There's many ways to do these problems, right? That's the freedom that you have. Try stuff, right? You might not, and the harder they get, you can't see the goal line. You won't see the goal line until you're 2 steps away, all right? You just have to keep trying things. And the first thing you try might not be the best way. Okay? It's the best advice I can give you with these. All right. How am I doing?